Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nowadays we are talking about the end of our lecture series, and we are in our last lecture we talked about writing, and now we are talking about research presentation. Before we start our today's lecture, I just want to recap what we have discussed in our previous lecture. We have talked about writing, how to write, what to write, for whom to write, what do we have to understand about when we start writing and all. So writing is one of the most important part of your research. When you are completed with your field work, when you are completed with data collection, analysis and interpretation, the most important thing is writing, which is important because this is the thing that goes to the reader, and reader then interprets whether he or she is able to understand or unable to understand. So this is how we have to understand our readership first. So once we know our readership, then we will be in a good position to write accordingly, so that those who want to read or in a position to read can understand the meaning of our research. So the practical hints about writing that we have discussed in our previous lecture is that you have to create time for writing. You have to pinpoint a daily time for your writing, and you have to write when your mind is fresh. Don't try to sit and write when you are tired, when you want to sleep, when the light is not okay and you cannot concentrate, there is too much noise or things like that that can create disturbance when you are writing. Because writing, as I told you in the previous lecture, that it is an art. And to be a good artist, you have to have an atmosphere, an ambience that gives you a flavor of producing a good artistic work, good writing. So that's why you have to have a fresh mind so that you can start your writing. You have to find a regular place to write. You have to find a place where you can sit on daily basis on a specified particular time, and you start your writing. You have to set your goal and then achieve them. Set your goal either on daily basis or on weekly basis, that in this week you will start this thing, you finish this thing, next week you will do this and that, and then try to achieve these goals so that you can finish your writing timely. Because if you delay, linger on the writing, then definitely few things that occur will definitely destroy your whole writing process, because with the passage of time your own mindset changes. Dynamic nature of writing also gives you an idea to change your writing. So when you delay, you linger on writing, what happens is that you try to change whatever you have written before. So if this is the case, then you keep revising the things that you have written rather than moving forward. So you have to do it on daily basis. Once you are done with your first draft, then you will be in a better position to revise it, edit it, redraft it, change it whenever and wherever you want to change. You use word processing, it is not necessary, but you can, because this is the common thing that every journal or dissertation organization asks about. Finish each writing session on a high point. You finish with the bottom line, and that has a link with the subsequent section also. Get friends to read and comment on your work. You have to give it to your friends, your peers, your supervisors, your colleagues, and they have to comment on that. Then we have also discussed about the structure in detail and what are the suggested headings that come and that follow each other. So abstract must be followed by introduction, that is followed by literature review. Sometime it is followed by literature review, sometime you write introduction as a literature review. Methods, of course, as a separate section. Results and discussion can be one section or can be two different sections. Of results, a separate section, and discussion, a separate section. Then you have conclusions, and after conclusion you definitely have references. Appendixes is not mandatory. Sometime you feel that you want to put some information in appendices, so you put it, otherwise you just finish at references. So for example, abstract, introduction, method, results and discussion, and conclusions. These are short headings that we have to have. What happened with literature review? It can be merged to introduction. What happened to discussion? It can be results and discussion section. And conclusion, of course, is a separate part. What you can do is either you only write references without appendices, or if necessarily you add appendices to it. And in our previous lecture we have discussed in detail about what is included in abstract, what is included in introduction, literature review, methods, and all these headings. So this is how we structure our report, dissertation, research paper, or whatever we are writing, let's say a monograph. Today we will be talking about research presentation. So first we have to understand what it is not about. So research, or the purpose of your research talk, is not to impress the audience, is not to tell them all you know about a subject, and it is also not to present every little detail of your work. What is it? And it is to give the audience a sense of what your idea or work is, make them want to read your paper, get feedback on your work. So this is how you have to understand what you don't have to do and what you do have to do, so that the audience can understand your research work, and they can also get involved, and you can get feedback if there is an improvement needed or if there is suggestion from their side. So you have to understand that you don't have to give too much details of what you have done or what you know about your research topic. What you have to tell them is exactly what you have done, how you have done, and what you have concluded. So simply give the audience a sense of what is your idea or work. Also invite them to read your paper through making sense of your presentation and get their feedback. So you have to know your audience first. Who should be there? Maybe scientists, experts in your field, maybe scientists not expert in your field, students, supervisors, peers, organizational heads, departmental heads, non-experts. Who knows who can be present there? So most likely a mix of people, so have something for almost everybody present in your presentation. So keep in mind that while you are knowing your audience, you have to keep in mind that they might be tired, because it might be late in the afternoon, or it might be at a time because they have also working somewhere else for their own projects and purposes. So you have to keep things simple. They can also read. They are thinking, why should I listen? Non-experts will tune off within 2 minutes. Experts maybe after 5 or 7 minutes. What can you do to keep your audience engaged with your presentation? That's one of the most important part of your presentation. So if you are presenting something, you have to keep in your mind that how can you engage people with your presentation. So if this is the case, you have to think about the ways that make sense in your presentation so that people remain engaged. What can you do is basically early motivation. At the beginning of your talk, motivate your research with easy to understand examples. Give simple examples, real life phenomena, so that one who is present in your presentation can understand the way, the nature, the work that you have done in your research work. Spoil the punchline, state your results early and in simple terms. You have to explain your words as simply as possible. So if you can do that, you will be in a position to engage every single person present in your presentation. Visuals, illustrate your idea with images and diagrams. We'll talk about these things simply in our today's lecture, and we'll see what is good about them, what is bad about them, and how can we avoid bad so that we can get a good image of our presentation. We can get good engagement of those who are present in our presentation. So leave them with these thoughts. I understood what the problem was and why it was important. So you must tell them the issue that you want to work, that you worked on, and how do you think it was important. I have an idea of what solution was and how it was different or better than others. So you also tell them that there are possible solutions. I have chosen this one because of this or that particular reason or the context of your own particular research that you have done. You also know the literature that is quoted in my work, and you might collaborate on this aspect of his or her research. So you have to know what is existence or evidence in the state of the art or the literature. So use examples. Examples can be used as weapons to motivate your work, to illustrate the basic intuition, to show your solution in action, highlight extreme cases or shortcomings. If you are running out of time, cut the journal case, not the example. So few things you have to understand, that while you are using examples, you have to motivate about your work, why you worked on that particular topic. Give examples that create motivation for those who are listening to your work. Illustrate the basic intuition, how one can easily understand the work that you have done. Show your solution in action. Whatever you have said may be a book related or bookish thing, but tell them in real life phenomena that if you do this or that, it can have impact on these or that particular thing. Highlight extreme cases or shortcomings. If you're running out of time, cut the journal case, not the example. So these are the things that you have to keep in your mind, that if you are coming short of time, make sure that you have to delete or reduce the journal things rather than examples. Examples are most important thing that give a boost to your presentation, number one. Number two, they are also helpful for engaging the audience with your presentation. Number three, it gives a sense of understanding to the audience about your research work. So journal things or journal cases can be avoided if you are losing out of time, if you are running out of time, but don't miss examples that can enhance your audience understanding about your research topic. Where were you? People will get lost during your talk, even those who are listening. So what you can do is basically you have to give a running title of your every slide. So running title helps them understand what you're talking about now and what is next, which is coming. So where were you is also very important. You have to make running titles for your presentation so that people can understand where were you. Even those who are listening, they have to understand where are you now, what will be the next. So you have to make running titles that you can see on the corner, that these kind of running titles you can make, where you can talk about pre-processing, filtering, texture extracts, decision trees, classification. I've just given you as an example this thing, but you have to give, let's say, an introduction, a review of literature, methodology, data, or things like that. So if this is the case, you have to make on left or right side a running title, so that those who are listening to your presentation and even those who are not in listening to your presentation interestingly can at least know where were you. So people will get lost during your talk, even those who are listening. So what you can do to avoid these things, have a running outline of the main steps of your idea. You have to have a running outline. A running outline, which is given here, actually gives an idea of those who are interestingly listening to you, that what we have already covered, where we are, and what is coming next. So more than the talk itself. So you use visual clue to highlight where you are in the process. You can use the visual clue to highlight the process like we have had in our right hand side. Present it at the beginning of each step. So whatever step you are taking, you have to present it first and then you start talking about it. So like we have discussed that today we are talking about research presentation. So one slide was just talking about research presentation and then we started our lecture. Before that we recapped our previous lecture, so we have 2 slides for recapping, so we have put a heading of recap on these 2 slides. So this is how one can distinguish that there you are where you are distinguishing between previously covered things and now you are talking about this particular issue, which is research presentation. Related work, you have to be familiar with all the related work. Don't list each paper you read. Mainly talk about results that are immediately related to what you did. References at the end of the talk are better in the paper itself. Acknowledge co-authors. So what you have to do is basically you have to understand the related work. Here comes the importance of review of literature and the critical review or evaluation of the already done papers. So you have to familiar with all the related work. You don't have to list each paper, but you have to talk about the results that are immediately related to what your work is talking about. What is your research all about? So references at the end of the talk are better in the paper itself. So either you put references in the end of your talk or you can put the references in the paper and ask audience to see the paper for references. If you have co-authors, acknowledge co-authors in the title slides. When you write title of your paper or the presentation and you give your name as presenter, if you have written that paper with 2 or 3 other co-authors or 1 other co-author, then please acknowledge that person also in that particular title slide. So you have to give technical details in or out. A fine line, present a specific aspect that show the meat of your work. So tell them what is your research all about. Leave the rest out. If you were convincing, they will read your paper. Don't fill up your slides with lots of equations. Prepare backup slides to answer questions. Leave them at the end of the presentation. So these are the things that you have to keep in mind. Normally what the students do, and they try to impress their audience, which we have seen in the beginning, they don't try to impress the audience, so they put more mathematical, econometrics, financial or these kind of stuffs in equation forms in presentation, which makes no sense for those who are listening to your work. Equations are not important, but the results that are coming by using these equations are very important for the audience. So instead of focusing on equations or mathematical stuff, you better focus on your results that are important for audience to know. So this is how you can make an impact through your presentation of your work on the audience. So what you can do, you basically give important contents in the slides, you give equations and other important material in the relevant slides which are in the background. What you can do, whenever somebody want to ask or know about something, you can always refer to that background information. So you have to have backup slides to answer the questions. So you have either leave them at the end of the section or you can give a hyperlink, so that whenever somebody needs something, you click the hyperlink and you go to that particular place where you can tell them about your methodology, your data collection, the way you did the data, the questions that you have asked, or if you have interviewed somebody. Things like that should be in the background, so that if somebody want to know, you have a quick link to that and you can get access to that easily. The skeleton, what is the problem? Motivation and goal, a relevant state of the art, what is your key idea or contribution, why is your approach good or better, why I just said and what I want to do next. So these are the important questions that you have to answer in your presentation. So first you have to inform your audience about the problem. What is the issue that your research tries to work on? What is the problem that you try to estimate, examine, analyze? So once you know that, you have to tell the audience in first place that what is the problem that you worked on. Then you have to tell about what motivated you to focus on that particular issue and what are your objectives or goals. So you have to focus on the motivation and goals also. You have to talk about the relevant state of the art. A relevant state of the art is basically literature review. So you have to know what is available on the related research topic on what you are working on, what has already been done, what are the important aspects that are covered, and what are the important aspects that are not yet covered. Then you have to tell about what is your key idea or contribution. So once you know the gap, you have to tell about how your research work is contributing. And when you are in a position to tell about your approach, about your contribution, then you have to talk about your approach and how it is good or better. You have to tell the audience how your approach is good or better, so that there is an awareness among readers or audience who are present in your presentation that there are approaches that can be used to solve this problem, but this author or researcher has used this or that particular approach because of this or that particular reason. And if this is the case, your argument, your logic comes in first place, people understand it, and then you can move further. Or if they have any comment or suggestion or criticism on that, they can also tell you about it. So what I just said and what I want to do next. So you have to understand what I just said as a researcher and what I want to do next. So there must be a link of one slide to another slide to next slide. So if you know the link and everything, then you will be in a better position to make your audience also understand what is your research about, how you are talking about it, what is the importance of your research and all that. So the skeleton of your presentation must be in a very clear format. Number one, you know the problem you are talking about. You have to know the motivation and objectives of goals of your research. You know the literature, the state of the art, and present it in a way that makes sense. Your key idea or contribution, what is your research approach, how it is good or better, what you just said as a researcher, and what do you want to do next. So if you know these things and you are in a position to present these things in your presentation has logical sequence, it is understandable, and it also convince or convey the message that you want to convey to your audience. So what to do when you are preparing the presentation? You have to keep in mind that less is always more. Not always, but in presentation form, less is always more. That's why we called it PowerPoint. Points that have power to explain the important aspect of your research. So that's why we call them points rather than full sentences. And we call them power because they have power to explain your main important ingredients of research. So less is more. Fill in with narration, not words. Right? Simple points rather than full sentences. Use animation sparingly. You can use animations also. Use color to emphasize some points, but limit to 2 or 3. You can also use colors. So you can use maybe green or red color to emphasize on some point. You can make them italic and you color them differently. Be consistent in the choice and use of color, font size, type, etc. You have to be very consistent about the choice of the color, the font size that you're using, and the type you are using. So either it is Times New Roman, Arial, whatever. So font size may be 12, 14, 20, 24, 32. So headings can be of this font size, text can be of this font size, and the color, of course. So you have to be consistent. Rather than changing color on every slide, you have to consistent that if you're using black or gray, if you're using light blue or dark blue, so things like that, you have to be consistent. If your heading is 34 or 36 or 44, you have to be consistent throughout your presentation that your main headings on every slide should be 36 or 44, whatever is your font size. So if you're talking about Times New Roman or Arial, you have to be Arial using in your whole slides. So you don't have to change between Arial, Times New Roman, or some other size, some other fonts. You have to be consistent about it. Use slide real estate appropriately. So you have to use slides in a appropriate manner. Use slides in an appropriate manner means that there is a length and width of slides so that everything is clear, visible, and understandable. Similar like in this particular slide where you have left things that is not covered, you have right things that are not covered, you have upper things that are not covered, and you have lower things that is not covered. So there is a area of your slide that is covered. You can read them easily, you can understand them easily, because it is not that some words you cannot approach, some words you cannot see. So you have to use on both sides, left and right, up and down, in a way that it is easily readable. So when you are preparing your presentation, you have to keep at least these 5 points in your mind. Number 1, less is more. Number 2, you can use animation sparingly. Number 3, use color to emphasize your points, but limit it to 2 or 3. Be consistent. For what? In your choice of color, in font size, and in types of fonts. Number 5, use slide real estate appropriately. You have to use the slide available to you in an appropriate manner. Slide layout bad. I have made it in a way so that you can understand. If you see in our previous slide, we have a heading and we have everything point by point, which is clear, understandable, and makes sense. But if you read this slide, then you can be in a position that you are reading a story. This page contains too many words for a presentation slide, full stop. It is not written in point form, make it difficult both for your audience to read and for you to present each point. So this is a full reading. That's why we called it slide layout, which is bad. Why it is bad? Number 1, it is not aligned in a way. Number 2, it is not point-wise. Number 3, it is full sentence, which does not make any good sense for readers. Maybe you can present it in a better way, they can understand it, but why not to make them in point format? So if you can make it in point formats, and that too not very long, then it will be easier for audience to read them out by themselves and try to comprehend, convince themselves to understand what is presented on that particular slide. So this is how you can understand how bad slide layout or how good slide layout can convince your or inconvince your audience. Slide layout good, show one point at a time. So one point, then comes the next point, will help audience concentrate on what you are saying, will prevent audience from reading ahead, and will help you keep your presentation focused. So these are the 4 things that you have to keep in your mind. So you have to show one point at a time. Why? Because audience will not lose concentration on what you want to say or what you are saying. Reading ahead habit of audience can be avoided, because if you just give one point, you try to explain it, and they cannot read the next point because it is not on display. So they can concentrate on what you have said in your first point and how you are explaining it. So it also prevents audience reading ahead and help you keep your presentation focused. You can also keep yourself focused in your presentation when you're talking about every point by point in your presentation. After slide layout, you have to talk about, or you have to think about fonts. What is good? Use a decent font size. Anything can be decent, but normally that is followed in presentation is Times New Roman or Arial. Others can also be followed, can also be understandable, can also be decent, but these are rule of thumbs, or people normally follow that while they are making their presentation. Use a decent font size. Use different size fonts for main points and secondary points. So size of the fonts should be different. Size of the fonts for main points and for secondary point. So for example, if you see the font size of this point is different than this point, because this is our main heading and this is the point that explains it. So we are using different size of fonts for main points and for secondary points. This font is 24 point, the main point font is 32 point, and the title font is 44 point. So you have to make sense that your text, let's say, is 24 point. Why I have written is because I am using this thing, that's why I have written it. So always my text is 24 point, my heading is 32 point, and the main heading is sometime 44, sometime 48, it depends on how much is the size of the heading. So this is how you have to understand, and you have to be consistent throughout your presentation that your text should be 24, your heading must be 44, and your title must be 44, and your headings must be 32. Use a standard font like Times New Roman or Arial. These are commonly used, I have already told you. Fonts that can be bad. For example, if you see the first one, or if you see the last one, if you use a small font, your audience won't be able to read what you have written. So don't use small font. Don't use small font size. Why? Because your audience will be unable to read it, so they cannot get interested in your presentation, or they might lose their interest in your presentation. So capitalize only when necessary. It is difficult to read, so you don't have to capitalize everything because it can be difficult to read for audience. So don't use complicated fonts. If you use complicated font, it is also difficult for readers to read your presentation points. So you have to avoid bad fonts by number one, managing the size appropriately, by not capitalizing every word, and by not using complicated fonts. So you have to take care of good fonts versus bad font. Now you have to talk about color. Use font color that contrasts sharply with the background. For example, I don't know whether you can see or not, you have a let's say background of white where you have written it in black that can be easily understandable. But there is something here in yellow which even I am unable to see. So for example, here in yellow form, so you cannot contrast yellow with white and you will be unable to see what has been written. So here I have written occasionally, but only use this occasionally, and here it is written that you have to avoid contrasting backgrounds with that of light colors. If your background is dark, then you can use light colors, but if it is light and you are using light color, then it cannot be visible properly. So use font color that contrasts sharply with the background. Use color to reinforce the logic of your structure. For example, light blue title and dark blue text. Use color to emphasize a point, but you make sure that color should be sharply contrasting with that of the background. Here we want to emphasize on occasionally, but the color choice is not that good. Although it is written color good, but because in my computer where I prepared my presentation, color scheme is different than when I am presenting here. So one has to understand it in that context. What is bad color combination? Is using sharp colors like yellow with that of white background where you are unable to see. So using font color that does not contrast with the background color is hard to read. It is difficult to read if it is not sharply contrasting. Using color for decoration is distracting and annoying. If you're using color for decoration, then definitely it is distracting and annoying, so you have to avoid it. Using a different color for each point is unnecessary. So if you have 4 or 5 points on one slide, don't use every point with different color. It doesn't make any sense. The same for secondary points. If you have secondary points, you cannot use different colors for secondary points. Try to be creative, but not in that way that you are unable to read or write or understand what you have written. Trying to be creative can also be bad. If you try to be creative in this way, using 7 colors in each word has different color, then it can also be destructive. Background, good. Use backgrounds such as this one that are attractive but simple. For example, white. Use backgrounds which are light. Use the same background consistently throughout your presentation. So that's one of the important points that you have to understand, that if you are using white background or light background, then you have to remain consistent throughout your presentation with the same background. It is not allowed or it is not appropriate to change your background on every second or third slide. So you have to be consistent with similar same background throughout your whole presentation. You have to use an attractive background. You have to use light background so that it is visible for audience to read the text written on that light background. And it's also important to be consistent with the choice of your background. What is bad, you can see. If you use these kind of background, you are unable to read your own presentation. So it says background bad somewhere here, and it says avoid backgrounds that are difficult or distracting or difficult to read from. So it's difficult to read from this background. Always be consistent with the background that you use. You have to be consistent with the background you are using rather than changing on every second or third slide. So you have to avoid very colorful background, because on some colors your text might not be visible either for you or for the audience, and that will create distraction or difficulty. So things like that are also problematic. Graphs, if you are making any graph on your presentation, you have to use graphs rather than just charts and words. Data in graphs is easier to comprehend and retain than in is raw data. Trends are easier to visualize in graph form. Always title your graphs. We have read about graphs. The title of the graph is important. You have to label each and every side of the graph. You have to label whatever is available on the graph and in what unit of measurements it is available. And it is also easier to comprehend and retain the data in graph format rather than in tabular and any other format. So graphs must be in appropriate format. They must contain a title, they must contain measurement units, and they must contain full names of variables so that you can understand. Minor grid lines are unnecessary. For example, if you're making a graph of, let's say, just displaying, here we have time in years and here we have GDP per capita. I'm just giving you an example to make you understand. And if we know that GDP is moving this way, then instead of so these are the smaller grid lines that are also present. These are vertical smaller grid lines. These are also present when you make graphs. These are unnecessary for your graphs. Minor grid lines are unnecessary for your graphs. Font is too small. Font must not be too small. Colors are illogical. You have to understand that your color choice must not be illogical. Title is missing, so you have to give title here. Shading is distracting. If you are shading one or the other area of your graph, it might be distracting. So you have to keep in your mind that you avoid, for example, these grid lines unnecessarily, because without grid lines, if you just make this graph in this way, time GDP per capita, and we make it this way, so the graph below is more understandable rather than the graph which contains the minor vertical and horizontal grid lines. And if you put a title on it, it is also appropriate. So you have to avoid these simple mistakes to make your graphs badly presented. Preparing the presentation. Prepare the slides in advance. Show them to a friend. When you think you are done, read them again. Check all animations with the sound on. If you have put some animation, you have to open up the sound of the computer and check all the animation. So the important thing is that you have to prepare your slides in advance. Show them to at least 2 or 3 of your friends so that they can comment. Show it to your supervisor if it is possible so that he or she can comment and you can understand whether your presentation makes sense or not. And when you think you are done, read them again carefully. Finally, you have to check about animations and the sounds of animation. Practice, practice, practice. This is the most important part of your presentation. You have to do practice as much as you can. This is the only thing that gives you confidence, that avoids mistakes, that increases your way of comprehending the issue by yourself first and presenting it to audience. This is the thing that makes things clear in your mind first, and you'll be in a better position to make others understand. This is the thing that gives you an idea of how to present, why to present, where to present, and how to logically sequence them. So if you are in a position to give these 5 things that I've just described an answer in yes, you will be in a better position and ready to present your work nicely. Give a practice talk to a general audience. If possible, give a practice talk to a general audience. Get some friends along and give a presentation that you have prepared before presenting it finally. Let's say if you are preparing for dissertation, get your friends around. If you're living in hostel, if you're not living in hostel, you can ask your class fellows, juniors or seniors to come and listen to your presentation. And if this is the case, then what you can do, give a practical talk to an audience of expert. If you want, you can also give to your supervisor, let's say. Time your presentation. Allow for a speed up effect caused by nervousness. So you might get nervous, so you have to keep time in your mind. Time, clearing the message, presenting whatever you have prepared. These are the three things which are very important. So clearing the message, whatever you have presented in your presentation versus time is the most important thing, that is creating nervousness among many presenters. So you have to keep in your mind that time slots available to you if you are presenting, let's say, a dissertation. If you are presenting a research paper in a conference, you're normally given between 15 to 30 minutes. And you have to manage your presentation accordingly. You don't avoid taking much time because that will be boring. People will get annoyed. So try to manage within the given time frame so that it remain interesting, understandable, and people do not get annoyed about it. So you have to manage time. Always assume technology will fail you. Have backups. You have to have backups. Maybe your presentation is not opening through USB. Put it in your email. Maybe you are unable to open up your email. Put it in your hard disk drive, external hard drives. Put it somewhere on Google Docs, which are available everywhere online. So these are the things that you have to do so that you cannot be embarrassed in front of audience when your presentation is ready but it is not opening. So avoid assuming that technology also fails. You have to have backups. Delivering the talk. When you are ready to present, be enthusiastic, don't be confused. If you're not, why should the audience be? If you are confused, audience may get more confused. But if you are enthusiastic, they get more enthusiastic to listen what you are saying or what you want to say and what you did, how was your research work, how they are linked, how you are interpreting and all that. Make eye contact with the audience. You have to see who is sitting, how and where, and by making an eye contact with your audience. Identify a few noders and speak to them. You can also remain in eye contact with one or the other person and you try to keep speaking for, let's say, few seconds. You can call them noders. Identify a few noders and speak to them. Watch for questions. Be prepared to digress or brush off when irrelevant. So be prepared for questions. You have to look around the room who is ready or who is willing to ask question from you. If you can see that and if you can ask that, then you will be in a better position to know how various audience understand your talk and how or what kind of questions, suggestion, criticism they have. Point at the screen, not the computer. You have to point about the screen and not the computer. Sometimes what happens is that you have your computer screen in front of you and you have on your back the screen that is moving on. Audience are looking at a screen, not at computer. So if you try to make them understand through computer screen, they'll be unable to understand. So for example, this point, which point they cannot understand. So that is why you have to point out towards the main screen and not towards the computer. Do not read directly from the PowerPoint or your notes. You don't have to read out the PowerPoint, or you have to have your notes from where you are reading. What you have to do is to read the point one by one and try to explain it. If you are in a position to explain points one by one nicely, then your PowerPoint presentation makes sense. That's why I started within the beginning saying that you have to put important, powerful points in bullet forms so that you can explain them if you know your own research. Have the spill for the first couple of slides memorized in case you go blank. You can memorize main points in your first slide so that if you get confused, you have to have something in your mind to say about these important points. Finish in time, which is very, very important to avoid annoying audience, to avoid boring audience, and to getting questions, suggestions, comments, criticism about your presentation. Because time is very important. You have to keep in your mind the time slot that is available for you to present your work. How to handle the question? Different types, handle accordingly. Question can be from different sides because you have a mix of audience, so anyone can ask any type of question, so you have to keep your calm and you have to handle question accordingly. You need clarification, ask for it. Suggest something helpful. Want to engage in research dialogue? Show that he or she is better than you rather than showing that you know everything and he or she doesn't know anything. Anticipate questions, additional slides. Don't let them hijack the talk, postpone. So what you can do if you are anticipating some questions, you can make additional slides according to that, and if somebody asks the question that you have anticipated, show them those slides. But if you think that somebody is trying to hijack your talk, you try not to discuss with them or not to go in dialogue form, but try to postpone it, accepting that whatever he or she is saying is okay, fine, and try to postpone it rather than they can hijack your talk. So these are the things that you have to keep in your mind while you are handling the question. So how can a researcher get better? Practice every chance you can. Observe others. Steal good presentation ideas. If you are going to see presentation, try to see what kind of ideas others have while they are presenting one or the other thing. If you like something, take for yourself if you want to present something for your presentation in coming days. Notice all the things that turned you off. What are the things that turned you off during presentation as a listener? Try to avoid while you are presenting. Seek comments from friends and mentors. You have to seek comments from your friends, from your mentor, from your supervisor about the way you presented, about the way you prepared your slides, about the points each slide contains, and the things that make sense to improve further your presentation skills. These are the things that you have to understand so that you will be in a better position to present your work. Before we finish this lecture, I want to give a brief summary of what we have covered. Is that know your work, which is the most important point. Whatever you have done from the very first step of knowing your topic till the data analysis, whatever you have covered, you have to know it properly, nicely, appropriately. That is your strength of when you are presenting your research in front of audiences or in front of experts or in front of mixed audiences. So you must know your work. Focus of your work. Once you know your work, you have to know where is the focus of your work. Related work, that is literature, state of the art. You must know the important literature related to your field. What is it concluded, what is it about, and how you are distinguishing from the existing literature, so your contribution. Objectives, methodology, and main results and their linkages. What are your objectives? What methodology you have used, what main results you have got, and how these three things are linked. So these three things are objectives, methodology, and results. How these three things are links. So why you use this methodology to achieve these objectives and how you get these results. Know your audiences, which is very important point. If you don't know your audiences, you are unable to convey your message. You are unable to convince your audience about your research in your presentation. So you have to understand, you have to know your audience beforehand, before presenting, even before preparing your slides. Have something for everyone, which is very important. If you have a mix of audience, then you have to have something for everyone. Something technical, something journal, use examples, avoid journal information, and these kind of things. Where possible, be simple rather than just using jargons or technical terms, which is I have already explained. Don't use difficult terms or jargons, rather than be simple so that everyone can easily understand. Be clear and careful with your words. The choice of word is very important. If you don't choose your words nicely, you might get confused, your audience might get confused, and then will create problem for your presentation. Confidence is mandatory. If you lose your confidence, you become victim of your own, let's say, confusions that you have. So that's why the most important point is know your work. And second most important point is the focus of your work. If you know these two things, then these sub-primary issues are there, that you know audience, how to present, don't lose confidence and all. But when you know your topic and the focus of your topic, you all automatically already naturally have a confidence that you can use to present your work, that you can use to convince your audience, that you can use to make sense in front of mixed audience. So confidence is mandatory. Before I finish, I would suggest that try to take part in seminars, in conferences, in lecture series, so that you can understand how people emphasize on various points when they present. What are the things that take you off? What are the things that you like? Try to avoid that are bad things. Try to include in your presentation that you think are good things, and try to make sense of your presentation. But the most important thing is know your work first, know the focus of your work, know your contribution, and also know the relevant literature. If you know these four important things, you'll be in a good position to handle answer question session, to present your work nicely, and to convince your audience not only to be enthusiastic about your presentation, but also happy to read your full-fledged research paper or dissertation, whatever you have written. I thank you very much for your attention, and Allah Hafiz.